Olivia Bennet always loved the smell of old books. Even now, as she did her final rounds through Starlight Books at closing time, she paused to inhale the familiar scent of aged paper and leather bindings. The small bookstore had been her sanctuary for the past 5 years, inherited from her grandmother along with the historic building it occupied in the quiet town of Cedar Grove. Thunder rumbled outside as she made her way down the narrow aisles, straightening volumes and checking for misplaced books. The storm had kept customers away all evening, leaving her alone with her thoughts and the gentle patter of rain against the Victorian-era windows. She didn't mind the solitude; it gave her time to catch up on inventory and work on her own writing. As she approached the basement door, a crash echoed from below, followed by the sound of falling books. Olivia froze, her heart racing. The basement housed her rare book collection, and she never left that door unlocked. Yet there it stood, slightly ajar, a faint blue light seeping through the crack. "Hello," she called out, grabbing a heavy brass candlestick from a nearby shelf. "Is someone down there?" No response came, but she could hear movement, the soft rustle of pages, a muffled groan. Against her better judgment, Olivia gripped the candlestick tighter and descended the creaking wooden stairs. The basement was typically dark and musty, illuminated only by a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. But now an ethereal blue glow pulsed from behind the furthest bookshelf, casting strange shadows on the stone walls. As she rounded the corner, Olivia gasped. A man lay crumpled among scattered books, but he was unlike any man she'd ever seen. His skin had a silvery sheen, and patterns of light seemed to flow beneath it like liquid starlight. He wore what appeared to be some kind of fitted suit made of a material she couldn't identify, now torn and damaged in several places. Most striking were his eyes. When they fluttered open, they were the source of that blue glow, bright as distant stars. "Please," he whispered, his voice carrying an odd resonance that made the air vibrate. "Help me." Olivia's rational mind screamed at her to run, to call the police, to do anything but approach this strange being. Yet something in those glowing eyes held her there, not fear or threat, but a profound sadness and exhaustion that touched something deep within her. "You're hurt," she said, setting down the candlestick and kneeling beside him. Up close, she could see that what she'd taken for tears on his face were actually droplets of silvery liquid that seemed to glow from within. "My name is Zephyr," he managed, wincing as he tried to sit up. "I mean you no harm, I needed somewhere to hide, to heal." "Hide from what?" Olivia asked, helping him lean against the bookshelf. Her hand tingled where it touched his arm, as if gentle electricity flowed between them. Before he could answer, a low rumble shook the building, different from the thunder above. Zephyr's eyes widened with panic. "They're coming," he whispered. "Please, I beg you, don't let them find me." Olivia looked toward the stairs, then back at the injured stranger. In that moment, she made a decision that would forever alter the course of her life. "Can you walk? There's a hidden room behind these shelves. My grandmother used it to store her most valuable books during the war." With her help, Zephyr managed to stand. Olivia quickly located the hidden catch in the bookshelf, revealing a narrow door. As they slipped inside, she heard heavy footsteps above, moving through her store with purpose. The hidden room was small but secure, lined with floor-to-ceiling shelves. As Olivia pulled the door closed behind them, Zephyr sank to the floor, his glow dimming slightly. "Thank you," he breathed. "I didn't know if anyone on this world would show kindness to someone like me." "This world?" Olivia whispered, though she already knew the answer. The evidence was right in front of her, in his otherworldly appearance and the strange technology incorporated into his clothing. Zephyr met her gaze steadily. "I will not lie to you, Olivia Bennet. I am not from your earth. I came here seeking sanctuary, but those who hunt me followed. By helping me, you may have placed yourself in danger." Above them, heavy boots moved across the floor, accompanied by the hum of strange devices. Olivia should have been terrified, but instead she felt an odd sense of calm. All her life she'd found escape in books about fantastic adventures and distant worlds. Now somehow the extraordinary had found its way into her quiet life. "Then we'll face that danger together," she said firmly, taking his hand. The tingling sensation increased, and for a moment she thought she saw patterns of light dance across her own skin, reflecting those that moved beneath his. Zephyr's eyes widened slightly and something like hope flickered across his face. "You are either very brave or very foolish," he said softly. "Sometimes they're the same thing," Olivia replied with a small smile. "Now let's get you healed up before we worry about whatever's up there." As she began examining his injuries using the first aid kit she kept in the hidden room, Olivia couldn't help but feel that her life's story was taking an unexpected turn. Like the book she loved so much, she had just begun a new chapter, one that promised mystery, danger, and perhaps even magic. The footsteps above eventually faded away, but Olivia knew this was only the beginning. Her bookstore had always been a gateway to other worlds through the pages of her beloved books. Now it had become a literal portal to something far more extraordinary, and she was about to embark on her own adventure, one that no book could have prepared her for. Dawn crept through the basement windows of Starlight Books, casting pale light across scattered volumes and disturbed dust. Olivia hadn't slept, spending the night tending to Zephyr's wounds while keeping watch from their hidden sanctuary. The strange silvery substance that served as his blood had slowly stopped flowing, his injuries healing at a rate that defied human biology. "Your world's sunrise is beautiful," Zephyr observed, watching the golden light paint patterns on the wall. His voice still carried that otherworldly resonance, but it had grown stronger. "On my planet, the light is always filtered through layers of atmospheric shields. We haven't seen a true sunrise in generations." Olivia sat beside him, nursing a cup of coffee she'd ventured upstairs to make once they were certain his pursuers had gone. "Tell me about your home," she said softly. "Why did you have to leave?" Zephyr's luminescent eyes dimmed slightly, and the patterns beneath his skin slowed their dance. "My people, the Lumeri, once lived in harmony with the natural energies of our world. We learned to channel the cosmic forces that flow through the universe, using them to build a civilization of light and knowledge." He held out his hand, and small motes of starlight began to dance above his palm, forming intricate constellations. Olivia watched, mesmerized, as the lights swirled and shifted. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "But beauty can inspire darkness," Zephyr continued, closing his hand and extinguishing the lights. "A faction arose among our people, the Void Seekers. They believed we should use our abilities for conquest to extend our influence across the galaxy. When they discovered ancient technology that could amplify our powers, they attempted to seize control." A cold shiver ran down Olivia's spine as she remembered the heavy footsteps from the night before. "Those who were hunting you, they're these Void Seekers." "They're agents, yes. I was part of a research team studying ways to restore our planet's natural defenses. We discovered something." He paused, pain flickering across his features. "Something that could either save our world or destroy countless others. I couldn't let them have it, so I fled. Earth was meant to be a temporary refuge, but they tracked me here." As if in response to his words, the lights in the basement flickered. Olivia felt a strange, tingling sensation in her fingers, similar to what she'd experienced when touching Zephyr. Looking down, she gasped. Faint patterns of light, like ghostly constellations, were appearing and disappearing beneath her skin. "Zephyr," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "what's happening to me?" He took her hand, studying the phenomenon with a mixture of wonder and concern. "Remarkable, you're naturally sensitive to the cosmic energies. My presence and perhaps the intensity of last night's events has awakened something in you." Before Olivia could respond, the bell above the bookstore's front door chimed. Footsteps moved across the floor above, not the heavy boots of the hunters, but the familiar tread of her assistant, Ruby. "Olivia," Ruby's voice called out. "Are you here already?" The door was unlocked. "I have to go up," Olivia whispered to Zephyr. "Ruby's worked here for years, I trust her, maybe she can help us." Zephyr caught her arm as she stood. "Be careful. The Void Seekers are masters of disguise. They can take any form, mimic any voice. Trust your new senses, they'll help you see through deception." Olivia nodded, trying to focus on the tingling sensation in her hands. As she climbed the stairs, she felt a subtle shift in the air, like static electricity raising the hair on her arms. Ruby stood by the counter, sorting through the morning's mail, looking exactly as she always did with her bright red hair and collection of eclectic bracelets. But something was wrong. The patterns of light that had been dancing beneath Olivia's skin suddenly felt cold, and the air around Ruby seemed to distort slightly, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. "Good morning, Olivia," Ruby said, smiling. "You're here early and you look like you haven't slept." She took a step forward, but her movement was too smooth, too calculated. "I had some inventory to catch up on," Olivia replied carefully, remembering Zephyr's warning. She concentrated on her heightened senses, and suddenly she could see it, a darkness lurking behind Ruby's familiar features, like a shadow wearing her friend's face. The thing that wasn't Ruby smiled wider, its teeth too sharp, its eyes too dark. "We know he's here, Olivia. The energy signature is clear. Tell us where the Lumeri is hiding and we might let you live." Olivia backed away, her heart pounding. The lights in the store began to flicker wildly, books trembling on their shelves as if responding to her fear. "What have you done with the real Ruby?" she demanded. The creature laughed, its form beginning to shift and blur. "She never made it to work today. Don't worry, she's alive for now, but her continued survival depends on your cooperation." As the false Ruby advanced, Olivia felt something surge within her, a power she didn't understand but instinctively knew how to use. Light erupted from her hands, filling the store with brilliant radiance. The creature hissed, its disguise melting away to reveal a humanoid figure wrapped in shadows. "Step back," Olivia commanded, her voice carrying a hint of the same resonance as Zephyr's. "I won't let you hurt anyone else." The shadow being snarled, its form becoming less stable. "You've been touched by his power," it spat. "You don't understand what you're involving yourself in, human. This is bigger than you can imagine." "Maybe," Olivia replied, feeling the energy building within her, "but I'm starting to imagine quite a lot." The creature lunged forward, but Olivia was ready. The light pouring from her hands intensified, forming a barrier between them. The shadow being screamed, a sound like tearing metal, and dissolved into dark mist that quickly dissipated. As the light faded, Olivia sank to her knees, exhausted but exhilarated. She stared at her hands, watching the patterns of light continue their dance beneath her skin. Her quiet life of books and stories had transformed into something extraordinary, and she knew there was no going back. In the basement, Zephyr waited, knowing that Olivia's first confrontation with the Void Seekers would change everything. The power she'd displayed was only the beginning. If she chose to accept it, her transformation would reshape not only her destiny but potentially the fate of two worlds. The real Ruby was found unharmed but unconscious in her apartment, with no memory of what had happened. Olivia had called in other employees to cover the store, claiming a family emergency. Now she sat cross-legged on the floor of the hidden room, watching as Zephyr drew intricate patterns of light in the air between them. "What you did upstairs," he said, his glowing eyes focused on the complex geometry he was creating, "was remarkable. But untrained power can be dangerous to yourself and others. You need to understand what's awakening within you." The patterns he drew seemed to pulse in sync with Olivia's heartbeat. The tingling sensation under her skin had grown stronger, and sometimes when she wasn't paying attention, small objects around her would float or emit soft light. "The energy you channeled," Zephyr continued, "we call it stellar essence. It's the fundamental force that binds the universe together, usually invisible to most beings. But some, like the Lumeri, evolved the ability to perceive and channel it." "And somehow I can tap into it too?" Olivia asked, watching her own hands where similar patterns now danced beneath the surface. "Humans have the potential, though it usually lies dormant. Your interaction with me, combined with your natural sensitivity, has awakened this ability. But there's more." Zephyr's expression grew serious. "I can help you fully unlock this power, teach you to control it, but once done it cannot be undone. You would never be fully human again." Olivia thought about the shadow creature wearing Ruby's face, about the threat lurking in the darkness between stars. what exactly would happen? Instead of answering immediately, Zephyr raised his hand. The patterns of light he'd been drawing coalesced into a small sphere that floated between them. Within it, Olivia saw images, beings of light moving through star-filled spaces, wielding energies that bent reality itself. The gift of starlight is our most sacred ritual, he explained. It would forge a permanent connection between you and the stellar essence, transforming your very being. Your consciousness would expand, your physical form would evolve, and you would gain abilities beyond normal human comprehension. Like what you can do. Similar, but uniquely your own, each individual's connection to the stellar essence manifests differently. He paused, his glow dimming slightly. But it would also bind our fates together. The Void Seekers would sense your transformation, you would become a target like me. Olivia stood, walking to the small window that let in a thin shaft of daylight. Below, she could hear customers moving through the bookstore, living their normal lives. She thought about her grandmother, who had always told her that books were doorways to other worlds. Had she known, somehow, that her beloved bookstore would one day become literally that? I want to understand something first, she said, turning back to Zephyr. Why are the Void Seekers really chasing you? What was it you discovered that's so important? Zephyr's light patterns flickered, and for a moment he looked ancient and weary. We found the origin point, the source of all stellar essence in this galaxy. The Void Seekers believe they can use it to enhance their powers exponentially, to dominate not just our world but all worlds. But interfering with it could destroy the very fabric of spacetime. He stood, moving to join her by the window. I came to Earth because I discovered something else in our research. Humans have a unique relationship with the stellar essence. Your species could be key to restoring balance, preventing catastrophe, but I never intended to drag anyone into this fight. Olivia watched the patterns of light moving beneath their skin, now pulsing in harmony. Maybe you didn't drag me into it, maybe this is where I was always meant to be. She turned to face him fully. I'll do it. You're certain once begun. I'm certain, she interrupted. My whole life I've lived through books, reading about other people's adventures. Now I have the chance to actually make a difference, to protect not just my world but others. How could I say no to that? Zephyr nodded solemnly. Then we begin at midnight, when the stellar essence flows strongest. The hours until midnight passed in preparation. Zephyr taught Olivia the basic principles of energy manipulation, showing her how to sense and direct the invisible forces around her. She practiced until she could reliably create small lights and move objects without exhausting herself. As midnight approached, they cleared the center of the hidden room. Zephyr used his powers to draw a complex mandala of light on the floor, its patterns shifting and flowing like liquid starlight. Olivia stood in its center, her heart racing with anticipation. Remember, Zephyr said, taking his position opposite her, once the transformation begins, you must embrace it fully. Any hesitation could be dangerous. He raised his hands, and the mandala beneath them began to glow brighter. Olivia felt the energy rising around them, making the air itself seem to shimmer. Zephyr began speaking in a language she didn't understand but somehow felt she could almost grasp. The words seemed to resonate with the very atoms of her being. The light grew blinding, and Olivia felt herself beginning to change. It wasn't painful exactly, but she could feel every cell in her body transforming, awakening to new possibilities. The patterns beneath her skin burst forth, surrounding her in a cocoon of pure energy. In that moment, her consciousness expanded. She could feel the earth spinning beneath her feet, sense the vast dance of planets and stars above. More than that, she could perceive the threads of stellar essence connecting everything, a vast, beautiful web of light and energy. When the transformation ended, Olivia opened eyes that now glowed with their own inner light. The world looked different, sharper, clearer, filled with layers of energy she had never perceived before. She looked at her hands, watching patterns of starlight dance across her now slightly luminescent skin. How do you feel? Zephyr asked softly. Olivia smiled, feeling power and knowledge settling into her transformed being. I feel complete, like I've finally become who I was always meant to be. But before either of them could say more, a warning pulse of energy rippled through the air. Above them, the bookstore's lights flickered ominously. The Void Seekers had returned, and this time they had brought an army. The air above Cedar Grove rippled like heat waves on a summer day, but this was no natural phenomenon. Dark shapes emerged from tiers in reality, sleek vessels that absorbed light rather than reflected it. Inside Starlight Books, Olivia and Zephyr felt the vibrations of their arrival through the threads of stellar essence. They brought void ships, Zephyr said grimly, his glow intensifying. They're done being subtle. Olivia reached out with her newly enhanced senses, feeling the malevolent energy radiating from the ships. There are innocent people out there, my neighbors, my customers. We need to protect them. Through the windows, they watched as dark figures began descending from the ships, humanoid shapes wrapped in shadows, like the creature that had impersonated Ruby, but larger and more substantial. Citizens of Cedar Grove stopped to stare, some taking pictures with their phones, unaware of the danger they were in. We need to evacuate the area, Olivia said, her mind racing. An idea struck her and she reached for her phone. Marcus, my friend at the fire department, owes me a favor. Minutes later, fire alarms began blaring throughout downtown. Emergency vehicles appeared, sirens wailing as firefighters began clearing the streets, claiming a gas leak threatened the area. Olivia watched with relief as people began to move away from the danger zone. But the Void Seekers weren't interested in human civilians. They moved with purpose towards Starlight Books, their forms rippling with dark energy. At their head strode a figure different from the rest, tall and elegant, wearing armor that seemed made of crystallized shadow. Nyx, Zephyr breathed, his voice tight with recognition. The leader of the Void Seeker Science Division, she was my mentor before. The front door of the bookstore burst inward, shadows writhing across the walls. Nyx's voice carried through the building, resonant but distorted, like a song played backward. Come out, Zephyr, we know you've performed the gift ritual. We felt the surge of power. Olivia and Zephyr exchanged glances. In the day since her transformation, he had taught her to harness her new abilities, but they both knew she was far from mastering them. We can't hide, Olivia said, straightening her shoulders, and I won't let them destroy my home. Together, they emerged from the basement. Olivia's beloved bookstore had become a battlefield. Shadows crawled across her carefully organized shelves, making the spines of books writhe as if in pain. Nyx stood in the center of the room, her dark armor absorbing the afternoon light that streamed through the windows. Ah, Nyx said, her voice carrying false warmth. The human he chose to share our power with, how quaint. Her helmet retracted, revealing a face that might once have been similar to Zephyr's but was now marked with veins of darkness. You have no idea what you've involved yourself in, child. I know enough, Olivia replied, feeling the stellar essence responding to her emotions, making the air around her shimmer. I know you want to destroy everything in your quest for power. Nyx laughed, the sound like breaking glass. Destroy? No, we want to evolve, to transcend the limitations of physical form. The origin point is the key to our ascension, and your precious protege, she gestured at Zephyr, knows how to access it. By sacrificing countless worlds in the process, Zephyr shot back, the origin point isn't meant to be controlled, it's the heart of reality itself. Reality is malleable, Nyx hissed, shadows gathering around her like a cloak. Let me show you. She struck with devastating speed, launching tendrils of pure darkness toward them. Olivia reacted instinctively, throwing up a barrier of light that scattered the attack. Books flew from their shelves as energies clashed, light against shadow, creation against destruction. The battle that followed was unlike anything Olivia could have imagined. She and Zephyr fought back to back, weaving shields of light to protect each other while launching their own attacks. Olivia discovered she could use her connection to the books around her, turning pages into razor-sharp projectiles infused with stellar essence. But Nyx was powerful and her shadow warriors seemed endless. They pressed in from all sides, their touch bringing numbing cold. Olivia felt her strength flagging, her newly awakened powers straining against the onslaught. Then she noticed something. Each time their light struck the shadows, small motes of energy escaped, floating upward like embers. She could feel them calling to her, resonating with her own transformed being. "Zephyr," she called out, "the fragments, they're like the stars in your constellations." He understood immediately. Together they began gathering the scattered motes of light, weaving them into a complex pattern above their heads. Nyx realized too late what they were doing. "No," she screamed, launching a massive wave of darkness toward them. But Olivia and Zephyr had already completed their work. The pattern of collected light exploded outward, filling the bookstore with radiance that consumed the shadows. The Void Seekers howled as their dark forms began to dissolve. Nyx alone remained, her armor cracked and leaking tendrils of shadow. "This isn't over," she snarled. "The origin point will be ours, and when reality itself bends to our will, your precious Earth will be the first to fall." She vanished in a burst of dark energy, taking her defeated warriors with her. The void ships above Cedar Grove retreated, folding away into whatever dimension they had emerged from. Olivia looked around at her devastated bookstore, shelves toppled, books scattered, windows shattered. Yet somehow in the hidden room below, their most precious volumes had survived unscathed. "She'll be back," Zephyr said quietly, helping her right a fallen bookcase. "I know." Olivia picked up a damaged copy of her favorite childhood fantasy novel, running her glowing fingers over its torn cover and watching as the pages began to heal themselves. "But next time we'll be ready." She could feel it, power building within her, growing stronger with each passing moment. The gift of starlight had changed her, but it had also shown her a truth she had always somehow known. Every story, every book in her shop was a thread in the greater tapestry of reality. And now she could finally see how to weave those threads into something remarkable. As the sun set over Cedar Grove, casting long shadows through the broken windows of Starlight Books, Olivia and Zephyr began to plan. The origin point was out there somewhere, and the fate of multiple worlds now rested in their hands. The next chapter of their story was about to begin, and it promised to be the most extraordinary yet. 3 months after the battle at Starlight Books, Olivia stood on the roof of her building, watching the cosmic dance of energy that only she and Zephyr could see. Her powers had grown exponentially. What had once been mere hints of light beneath her skin now flowed like rivers of starfire through her being. The bookstore below had been restored, though now it held more secrets than just its hidden room. "The constellations are shifting," Zephyr said, joining her at the roof's edge. "The origin point is becoming active." Olivia nodded, feeling the disturbance in the stellar essence that flowed around them. They had spent weeks preparing for this moment, gathering knowledge from both his alien science and the unexpected wisdom they'd found hidden in Earth's oldest texts. Her bookstore had become a nexus of both human and Lumira learning, its basement now housing a sophisticated array of energy monitoring equipment disguised as ordinary storage. "How long do we have?" she asked, though she could feel the answer in the vibrating threads of energy. "Hours at most." Nyx will have sensed it too. As if summoned by his words, a ripple of darkness passed across the stars. Throughout Cedar Grove, lights flickered and dogs began to howl. The void ships were returning, but this time they weren't alone. A massive vessel emerged from the dimensional tier, its surface seeming to devour light itself. "The Umbra Throne," Zephyr breathed. Nyx brought their flagship. Olivia reached out with her enhanced senses, feeling the immense dark energy radiating from the vessel. But she also sensed something else, desperate, flickering lights trapped within the darkness. "There are prisoners aboard," she realized. "Your people." "The Resistance members who wouldn't join them," Zephyr confirmed grimly. "They're being used to power the ship systems, their stellar essence drained and corrupted." A beam of dark energy lanced down from the Umbra Throne, carving a circle in the empty lot behind Starlight Books. Nyx emerged from the darkness, but she had changed. Her armor had grown more organic, shadows writhing across its surface like living things. Behind her came dozens of void seekers, each leading a captive Lumira in chains that seemed made of solid darkness. "Behold," Nyx's voice boomed across the town, "the futility of resistance. The origin point awakens, and with it, the power to reshape reality itself." Olivia felt a sudden surge in the stellar essence, centered on the empty lot. Space itself began to twist, revealing glimpses of something vast and beautiful and terrifying, a sphere of pure light, surrounded by strands of energy that connected to every point in the universe. "The origin point," Zephyr whispered. "She's forcing it to manifest physically." Olivia watched in horror as Nyx began channeling dark energy into the manifestation, corrupting the pure light with shadows. The captive Lumirae screamed as their own power was forcibly drawn out, feeding the process. "We have to stop this," Olivia said, her voice carrying the resonance of stars. She reached into her jacket and pulled out an ancient book, one that had been hidden in her grandmother's secret room all along, its pages covered in symbols that matched the patterns of stellar essence perfectly. "Your grandmother was a guardian," Zephyr realized, recognizing the text, "one of the humans who knew the truth about the origin point. And now I know why she left me the bookstore." Olivia opened the book, its pages glowing with their own light. "There's a way to save everyone, but it's dangerous. We'll have to enter the origin point itself." Before Zephyr could respond, reality shuddered. The origin point's manifestation was growing unstable, dark energy fighting against light. Cracks began appearing in the air itself, showing glimpses of other worlds, other dimensions. "If we don't act now, both our worlds will be torn apart," Olivia said, taking Zephyr's hand. "Trust me." He squeezed her hand, their patterns of light synchronizing. "Always." Together, they leaped from the roof, their powers allowing them to float gently to the ground. Nyx turned to face them, her dark armor crackling with corrupted energy. "You're too late," she snarled. "The transformation has begun." "No," Olivia said calmly, raising her grandmother's book. "It's just beginning." She began to read aloud in the ancient language of the Guardians, words that resonated with both human and Lumirae wisdom. Light burst from the pages, forming a bridge of pure energy that stretched toward the origin point. Nyx launched a barrage of shadow weapons, but Zephyr deflected them, his own powers enhanced by his connection to Olivia. The imprisoned Lumirae began to stir, their own lights growing stronger as the words of power awakened something within them. "The origin point isn't meant to be controlled," Olivia called out, her voice carrying across dimensions. "It's meant to be understood, to be shared." She and Zephyr stepped onto the bridge of light, moving toward the heart of reality itself. The captive Lumirae began breaking free of their shadow chains, their restored power adding to the pure energy that now filled the air. "No," Nyx screamed, launching herself at them, but when she struck the bridge of light, something unexpected happened. The shadows coating her armor began to crack, revealing the luminescent skin beneath. What are you doing to me?" "Reminding you of who you really are," Zephyr said softly. "The darkness isn't you, Nyx, it never was." Olivia continued reading, each word sending pulses of light through reality. The origin point's manifestation stabilized, its pure radiance pushing back the corruption. One by one, the Void Seekers began to transform, shadows burning away to reveal their true Lumirae forms. As they reached the center of the bridge, Olivia and Zephyr joined hands. Their combined power reached out to the origin point not to control it, but to honor its true purpose, connecting all beings, all worlds, all possibilities. The light grew blinding, and for a moment, Olivia could see everything, every story ever written, every tale yet to be told, all part of the grand tapestry of existence. She understood then why her grandmother had chosen this path for her, why the bookstore had always felt like more than just a building. When the light faded, the Umbra throne was gone. The freed Lumirae stood blinking in the dawn light, their natural luminescence restored. Even Nyx knelt on the ground, her armor transformed into flowing robes of light, tears of starlight running down her face. "It's over," Zephyr said, helping Olivia stand. "You did it." "We did it," she corrected, looking around at her transformed town. The origin point had returned to its natural state, its power now flowing freely but safely through all dimensions. Cedar Grove would never be the same, but then neither would any other world. Later that evening, as the stars emerged above the bookstore, Olivia sat among her beloved books, their pages now slightly luminescent to her enhanced vision. Each one contained a fragment of the universal story, she realized, just as each being contained a spark of the origin point's light. "What happens now?" she asked Zephyr, who was helping her reorganize shelves that now contained both Earth literature and Lumeri texts. He smiled, his glow matching the warm light of the store. Now we write the next chapter together." Olivia returned his smile, watching the patterns of light that connected them, that connected everything. Her quiet bookstore had become a bridge between worlds, and she had become something more than human. She had become a guardian of stories both earthly and cosmic. Outside, the stars twinkled with new meaning, and somewhere in the vast tapestry of reality, new tales were waiting to be told. But for now, in this moment, Olivia was exactly where she needed to be, among her books, with starlight in her veins and infinite possibilities ahead.